Transistor radio, glowing magic transistor radio, magic transistor radio, glowing magic.
Hello YouTube and YouTubettes. Welcome to an album review. I have a very special formula that I use to make grades, so you will hear fractions and like a 5.73 or whatever. I won't give that away, but in this video I would like to review the Music Tapes album First Imaginary Symphony for Nomad. This was released on July 6th, 1999 on Merge Records, as well as part of the Elephant Six record company. The genius behind it is Julian Coaster. He's also in Neutral Milk Hotel. This was recorded mainly on vintage equipment, 1895 Edison wax cylinder recorder, 1940s wire recorder, state-of-the-art hard drive, and reel-to-reel tape recorders. And it was also recorded mainly at Julian's grandmother's house as well as his own home. This was my favorite album for a while in the early 2000s when I first discovered it. If you've seen the movie Conspiracy Theory, where the main character played by Mel Gibson had to buy Catcher in the Rye anytime he saw it, I had to buy First Imaginary Symphony for Nomad anytime I saw it. I don't know why, I just had to have it. Anyway, I went through that phase. The cover is a black and white picture of a piano with comics on the wall, and I didn't have any information on who took the picture or who put it together, but I give the cover, I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10. Now on to the songs. The first song is Song for Soon-to-Be Sailor, and it opens up with this haunting sound, and when I first heard it I thought for sure it was Thurman's, and turns out their handsaw is played by a violin bow. And if I would have read the back, Song for Soon-to-Be the Sailor by Singing Saws, and he has another album called Singing Handsaws that he does for a Christmas album, and it's pretty cool. And then when he starts singing, there's these haunting violin sounds in the background, and this is a really good artistic piece, and I give it an 8.4 out of 10. The next track is First Imaginary Symphony by Vacuum Cleaner, and I really love that as he introduces it and the vacuum starts up. So this is just an artistic piece. It's not very commercial, so it doesn't do as well, but it's strong, a 10 on art, on the art side of it, but I give it a 7.4 overall. The next song is Song of the Nomad Lost, and this one is probably the first actual full song on the album. It's also an artistic piece and not very commercial sounding, but I love it. It's got a lot of interesting things, a lot of changes going on within it, some surprises. I give it a 7.6 out of 10.
Beware the ocean of faces, lest you be pulled out to sea.
The next track is called Pulled Out to Sea, and this is another one of those weird artistic pieces. I give it a 10 in art, but this is so far the lowest in terms of commercial or catchiness. But I really do like this in the context of the whole album. I love the babies crying, but I give it a 7.0 out of 10. The next song is March of the Father Fists. This is it's got a nice hook at the beginning, and then it gets into some random artistic stuff, and then it's got a catchy thing going on later. But I kind of wonder if lyrically he had heard Child is the Father of the Man by the Beach Boys, although that hadn't been officially released yet. There were bootlegs out. Anyway, I really like this song. This is to me, it's catchy, even though it's weird. But I think it's catchy enough, and it's full of creativity, and I give it a 9.0 out of 10.
His brains are incredibly large.
The next song is Nomad Tell Us, and this one starts out with a nice hook of a lyric and music, but it, again, like everything else on this record, has a lot of interesting artistic creativity on it, but it's catchy enough to keep it at a high score. I give it an 8.6 out of 10.
Aliens, aliens.
The next track is Aliens, and this one is a catchier piece and very artistic. I love the way that the handsaws come in once again. I'd say that it's a lot of a hook with aliens being said, and this one does very well. Once again, I give it an 8.6 out of 10.
Just 100 fathers were wandering through the desert, looking for
The next song is Song of 100 Castles. This sounds like some old folk song, like from the 1800s or something, but then it has these trumpets that blast in at the end. The strong point of this song is the lyric is very poetic, so it gets a 10 on that. In the context of the album, this is nice, but as its own track isn't that appealing. But I give it a 7.6 out of 10.
Wake up, sleepless sailor, you've been sent. Sleeping buildings in a single.
The next song is called What the Single Made the Needles Sing. And I want to point out that Julian Coaster has this odd sense of humor, that he sort of gives personality to instruments, or like in this case, to the needle that I guess is playing the record. But he also does this with the handsaws when he's on stage or performs. He talks about his handsaws as if they were pets or something with personalities. But anyway, this is one of the catchiest, if not the catchiest song on the album. I especially like the latter part of this song with the kind of the Oz vocal kind of thing going on that's interesting. But this song does really well. I give it a 9.2 out of 10. The next song is called The Clapping Hands, and this one is very weird, another artistic piece that I give a 10 on the art of the music, but again, it's not a very catchy piece, but it's catchy enough, and I give it an 8.0 out of 10.
Sea Song for Sailor, played by the music tape.
The next song is Sea Song for Sailor, and it's very short. It's kind of a 1800s folk song once again, but it's got some very interesting things, a nice accordion sound. But it's not a great song. I'll give it a 7.6 out of 10. The next song is The Television Tells Us. This is also a catchier number, like the rest, very artistic. My favorite thing about this song, though, is the lyrics. It's the concept of that televisions are aliens from other planets that want to sit in front of us, and they want to look inside of us, and we look inside of them, and they want to be like us. So we see images of us, or humans, in the television. So it's an awesome concept. This is my favorite song on the album, and I give it a 9.4 out of 10.
You're working that job. You're working your fingers to the bone.
The next song is an orchestrations overture, and it's a somewhat catchy song. I kind of like the way he did his voice, or made it sound lower or slower, and it makes this an interesting song. But it's really good, another artistic piece, and I give it an 8.4 out of 10.
Death to the thing that you become. Life for all left locked within you. Death.
The next song is Song for the Death of Parents. This is kind of thematically a follow-up to March of the Father Fists, and this time it turns things around. And instead of the father's fists, it's the kids, where the parents are the daughters and sons. So it's a funny concept. A couple things I like about this song. I like the bouncing ball. It sounds like one of those bouncing balls you see in the grocery stores. And then whenever he sings, try and find a world where everybody is, or all the parents are daughter and son. He does that 2 or 3 times, and every time he changes up the backing music, and it's always very interesting. So this is another great song, right up there with my favorite. I give it a 9.4 out of 10.
We must now interrupt this sound recording with a word of warning. All those who...
The next track is called A Warning, and it's just spoken word. There's really no music to it, but there's some kind of creepy sounds as it leads into the next track. I give it a 7.3 out of 10. The next song is Fanfare for the Speeding Bullet, and this has some really cool backing track sounds going on with the accordion and other things. It's one of the catchier numbers. I really love this song. I give it a 9.2 out of 10.
Television's Superman was found moments ago dead of a single gunshot wound. More details to follow. At 6 a.m.
The final track is called Wishing Well at Caper's End. And what I heard was that this was recorded shortly after one of the actors of Superman died. And so there's an announcement that he died, and then it gets into this really cool music, I think, while kids are saying goodbye, Superman. So it's a nice ending to the album. I give it an 8.0 out of 10. The flow of the album is a 10 out of 10. This is definitely a concept album. It's very strong throughout, and it's got some sections that are pieced together that fits in the whole. So this is, like I said, one of my favorite albums. It was my favorite album for a while in the early 2000s, and it's great, and it's weird, and I love it. So now I will pull out my handy dandy computer and calculate my formula. And this album gets an 8.46 out of 10. Thank you and have a wonderful day.